Hi, everyone. Welcome to Domain Sherpa, and thank you for tuning in to the podcast with the best domain name and digital asset content in the world. Today's episode is a Domain Sherpa review titled Turn the Page, featuring Josh, Drew, and Page Howe, who's on the show for the first time since I took over as host. And on today's show, we play the domain game featuring storytellers.com, grandfathers.com, and vibration.com. Then we've got the NameJetGonnaJet segment sponsored by NameJet, and we talk about some domains coming up for auction, including nzl.com, seaside.org, magician.net, and theraven.com. The Sherpas then do some deep dives on domain portfolio management, the popularity of .ai domains, fractional ownership of domains, and Web3 domains in the future of the space. We really get busy on today's episode, so the audience gets their money's worth for sure. So don't miss this one. And remember, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can also watch the video version at DomainSherpa.com and on our YouTube channel at ds.tv. You can also listen to the shows on Apple and Spotify and other podcast platforms as well. So make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and all that good stuff where you can. We're also now integrating our shows with Muse.ai, which provides new search functionality for the shows and transcripts as well. Definitely check all that out. And big shout out to Dan.com, the #1 place in the world to buy and sell your domains with a special platform made for domain investors. With that, it's now time to get into this episode of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domain. So let's go. What's up, Sherpa Network? Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Jonathan Tenenbaum, a.k.a. JT, a.k.a. Jay On, a.k.a. Sherpa Winfrey, John Burgundy. You all know what it is. The host and producer of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Today's show is a Domain Sherpa review, where we get into the minds of successful domain investors using real examples so we can learn strategies and tactics to become more successful domain name investors ourselves. These are the experts, the OGs, the best in the biz. Got a special guest today who's actually the first time that he's on the show since I've hosted the show. So I'm excited about it, but we're going to get to that. 4 segments to the Domain Sherpa review. We've got the grand opening. That's where I intro the Sherpas, see what's going on with them, talk about some related things, some unrelated things, maybe an AKA or two. Then we get into the domain game. We hear about what the Sherpas recently bought or sold. Everybody guesses on the price. We keep score, get some swag to the winner. Then we got the NameJetGonnaJet segment, sponsored by NameJet. We review a list of domains coming up for auction, see what the Sherpas like and what they don't like. And last but not least, we'll close with GrandClosing, where we discuss anything we haven't covered already, what's going on with the Sherpas, allowing them to promote, mention, talk about anything that they want to talk about that we have not already covered. So with that, let's go ahead and introduce the Sherpas. Over to my right, I got my boy Josh Reason, a.k.a. Bjorn Borg, a.k.a. Prince Harry, a.k.a. Harry Kane, a.k.a. Prince Harry Kane, a.k.a. Chicka Chicka Slim Shady. What's up, man? What up?
So what's up? Doing good.
All right, let's go. Let's go. All right, I'm going out of order because I want to introduce the special guest last. So I'm going to go below me. We got my boy Andrew Rosner, a.k.a. Morpheus, a.k.a. the Dirk Diggler, Digital Assets, a.k.a. Bob Lee Swagger, the Sniper, a.k.a. Drew. Drew got what I need, a.k.a. every Rosner has its thorn, a.k.a. never going to give Drew up, a.k.a. Graybeard, the Domain Pirate. What's up, dude? Who was a pirate on the Halloween show. So if you haven't seen it, check it out.
Is he not the Dirt Diggler anymore? Did you get rid of
that? I
that?
said Dirk Diggler, Digital Assets.
No, he said it. He
said it because he hates it. He knows I said it because he's like,
I know
he said it.
Don't ever get rid of it. He's the Dirt Diggler. I'm bringing it to Twitter now, or X. I'm bringing it to X. Whenever I tag you, I'm tagging you as the Dirt Diggler, Drew.
Dirk Diggler, Digital Assets, Boogie Nights, baby. What up, Drew?
Man, yeah, all kinds of things. Good, bad, and otherwise. You know what I'm saying? Like we're just holding it down, head down over here, trying to get things done. You know,
making moves.
Trying to pour water while the world burns.
Oof, it is something. All right, now with that though, let's go ahead and introduce our special guest. It is the one and only, ladies and gentlemen, it is Page Howe, a.k.a. How High, excuse me, as I kiss the sky, sing a song of sixpence, pocket full of ride. I'm going to be bumping that Method Man, Redman song all day today, if you guys should do the same. A.k.a. Same Page, a.k.a. Blank Page, a.k.a. Homepage, a.k.a. Turn the volume up so you could hear what we're saying, son. You got me? I know you thought I was going to say turn the page, aka 404 page not found. But we did find you, and you're right here live on Domain Sherpa. What's up, dude? How are you?
Hey, great to be back on the Sherpa. Great to see the guys. JT, good to be with you. I consider myself having passed a milestone, a hot list. I got some AKAs, so I'm in now. So that's good.
That's it, man. You are official. So
I will say I'm very, very glad to see you back on the show. A lot of good time spent with Saiger recording this show back in the day. We were just having a reflection about how we're talking about a topic that, we were discussing a decade ago and having the exact same conversation. And somehow, miraculously, the domain name industry hasn't caught up to where Paige and I were at a decade ago. But we are making strides, and we will get there.
Well, you want to tell them what the topic is? I feel like, man,
man. You got to watch. You got to make it.
You gotta watch.
Okay. I like it. Teaser. Let's go.
Stay tuned. We're not even going to give you the minute mark.
Ooh, I like that. I like it.
And hey, Drew, it is good to be back. And I'll go off script here. It's been a while since you and I have talked here on the show. And for me, not always great, not always awesome. I had some challenges. I had some times where I was not managing my portfolio right, and that happens. And if anyone's listening to the show and you're heading in that direction, especially now where liquidity's dropped a little bit, reach out to me if I can help. But it hasn't always been great. I've been lucky to have good friends and supporters that have stayed with me and helped me. And I just wanted to say, for that gap that I've been gone, I wanted to just put that out there, that it's not always great. Yeah. And I had some times when it wasn't. And I want to make sure I can have a voice for that if I can. So.
What's an example of not managing the portfolio correctly, if you don't mind me asking?
I think for me, it was being pig-headed and saying my names are going to sell. And I went through a time where I really didn't realize the effect that huge domains had on me. Them coming in and buying 2 million names of exactly the type I wanted. And what I didn't really realize was that I was buying lower quality names, and I wasn't having the velocity I used to, and I wasn't watching my numbers. So I was thinking I was still doing X, but I wasn't. And it took me a while once I realized that to have I think domaining could be a smarts business. It could be a logic business. It's also a capital business. And I was probably carrying too big of a portfolio for the capital base. And I couldn't wait for that perfect buyer to always come. Then you start selling. Then you start selling your better ones for less than they're worth. And it can be challenging.
Yeah. I think go ahead, Josh.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, there's a moving goalpost a lot when you're scaling a certain type of name, right? And you're scaling the portfolio, meaning stuff that was selling 5 years ago might not be selling so well right now. And if you're continuing to scale the portfolio, it's very difficult to track that sell-through rate and on those names that you're buying in the present. And if you get too carried away buying those names and scaling that side of the portfolio without necessarily understanding what that sell-through rate is on those names at this current period, you can find yourself in a hole, but not until it's too late. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Oh, I was fortunate that you still get sales. The plane didn't crash. The plane came down, and then was able to go back. I'm much more clinical now. I can't afford to get close, like horseshoes and hand grenades. Oh, that name's kind of good. It's close enough. It'll probably sell. I've really had to take that out and say, clinically, is this where I want to hold my capital for the next 5 years to wait for a sale and be more clinical? And then the second thing I had to realize is a loss is a tie. If I don't win a name because I don't want to overpay and I don't get it, I lost something. I lost, oh my gosh, that could have been my big sale. But a tie I can walk away from. So those are probably the things I learned.
So I want to drill down for a second because actually, this is a really underappreciated point. And I think it's actually brings up a few nuances. One of those nuances is the difference in the type of portfolio that you run versus what I run, And not to say one is better than the other, but to highlight the difference in the business model. And I don't think, at least from what I see on Twitter, for whatever that's worth, I don't think that nuance is appreciated. I think people just look at it and says, oh, domain investors, you guys buy domains and then you sell them to people that'll pay more. And the way the actual business of it is very different, couldn't be more different. Your business depends on metrics and data and really making sure that your sell-through rates are consistent or going up, right? But when they start going down, you're going to start asking questions very quickly. Why? Why are they going down? Is it the quality of the names? Is it the pricing? Is it the listing places I'm listing? Is it, a lot of different variables? And the other difference, and I welcome you if you want to drill down on what goes in, because I literally don't run that type of portfolio. That is not my expertise. I would fail miserably at running that type of portfolio because it literally is the opposite of my skill set. My skill set applies to, finding that one diamond in the rough and then understanding exactly what it's worth and then holding it till I get to that exact buyer that I know is the perfect buyer for that name. Whether I go find that buyer or that buyer comes and finds me, whatever. And so it's just a totally different game. It has nothing to do with the people that run a portfolio in the way that you do are, the Mike Manns of the world, the huge domains of the world. And these may be at varying scales, but still, this is the type of portfolios and the metrics that go into it and the management style of a portfolio like that. Very, very different business models.
Well, and I think that's an interesting, sort of nuance between, like all portfolios are not created equal. Paige, how many names do you have currently? Can you give us some ballpark or general idea?
Well, it's a good question, because if I just did my spreadsheet work this morning, that joy of domaining, adding them, changing name servers, the stuff we just love to do,
Yeah, can't wait.
It's probably about 21,000 names. But
yeah.
My core.com resale group of that is about 5,500. I probably have 4,000 names I'll drop if they don't sell in the first year. I probably have 4,000 names. I was able to do some capital light domaining, with other people's money a little bit. And so I've moved it to some of those things away from, having them all. But it's about 21,000 names of various degrees. And a lot of them are already marked for exit, yeah.
Well, and I think that's the interesting thing. We try to tell people that a lot about how, Leanne was on the show at one point. Josh is a big data-driven guy. Obviously we do a lot around the data when we're trying to determine which names and, and how we're doing what we're doing and who we're going after and all that kind of stuff. And and I mean, I think that is and I think Drew, I don't know if it was a recent tweet or whatever, but, not too long ago was talking about how you can't really go with your gut necessarily. I mean, even if you know what you know, right? I mean, that you can do with a sort of a one-off type of situation, but you can't manage a portfolio with thousands of names just based off of sort of general instinct, right? I mean, if you kind of to your point, you sort of had to go back to.
You can if you've got another source of income pouring money in.
Oh,
to pay
yeah.
For it,
Hey,
right?
look, if you're
the best way to be a domainer is to have a real job. Then you just have to break even, because I do it full time. I've got to pay for a lifestyle, so I've got to make enough to pay for a lifestyle and hopefully grow assets.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, it's, and I think that, and I appreciate you sharing. I mean, having you on the show is great. I mean, look, you're one of the first guys I think I met in the domain space when I moved over from, the web side into the NameJet side. I think it was LA, ICANN, when I first, started taking over the GM duties in NameJet. And, I mean, you've been in and around the space. I mean, you are as much of an OG as anybody. And, so, and with 20,000+ names, I mean, you come from a real place of authority. And I think it's pretty cool to also come on here and just say, hey, look, like, it's not always great, and it's like, and sometimes you've got to reset and adjust and, those kinds of things. I think that's important. I also appreciate you saying it to, hey, if anybody's struggling out there, hit me up. Let me give you some guidance, that kind of thing. Cause, it's so much of the mission of what we do here on Sherpa, which is really just trying to, help people along in their journey and ultimately grow the pie. So I appreciate all that, man. And so good stuff. Well, let's get into some more stuff. Let's continue doing what we do. Let's get into the domain game a little bit. Let's gamify this thing. And then I want to get you guys, once we do the domain game, we'll do NameJetGonnaJet. Then when we get to the grand closing, we're going to talk about that topic that you guys were teasing in the intro. So, Josh, what you got, dog? What you got? You got a buy or a sell? What's up?
It's been a little bit better the last couple of weeks for me, so I got some sales, but we'll do a buy.
It's like what a head fake, you know what I'm saying? He's like, oh, I got mad sales, man. Look, he's like, I got rollies on both wrists. He's like, but I'm gonna tell you about a buy. I'm gonna tell you about a closeout that I picked up.
Yeah. No, I actually on another topic, Drew will be so happy. I bought some .ai's yesterday, but we won't talk about those.
In the expired auction?
Yeah, I bought a couple. I feel like I got pretty good deals on those, to be honest.
Hey,
everyone else, in my opinion, overpaid for all the shitty ones.
If you're buying anything except the premium.com, there's no such thing as a good deal until it sells.
That's right. But I will say this, big shout out to Dynadot. I think what they're doing with that expiring .ai auction is great business for them.
Sure.
And it's piggybacking off of their acquisition.
And I think they stole that park. That's Park. I think that I'm
literally looking at those numbers yesterday.
That was a hell of a business move. That was a hell of a business move.
A big shout out to Dynadot. The acquisition.
Hats off to Todd. Todd came. Todd just came back and was like,
let's go.
Ready to play ball.
I kind of don't like it because, I'm still trying to be a little eventful. Before it was so hard to download the list. You had to go through every page. It was tough.
It was very cumbersome.
Sort by highest number of bids, estimate value, boom, 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 boom. So I kind of like the old inefficient way, but that's me,
Well,
we love inefficiencies as opportunistic domainers, Page. That's
inefficiency is the name of the game in this business.
100%. And but I do think it's pretty cool what they're doing. And AI names, we've talked about this now for several shows in a row. They are currently the belle of the ball, and it's they're doing some.
Josh, just for the record, my opinion on AI names has not changed whatsoever. In fact, with every passing day, I feel stronger about my position.
I agree with you as well. Remember, I agree with you.
But keep in mind that I haven't called the top yet. You know what I'm saying?
Until Drew calls the top.
I called the top on IO, right? I called the top on IO. I called the top on XYZ, but we're still in the froth with AI. All I'm saying is at the entry prices that I'm seeing, although it seemed like the auctions yesterday went much lower than
I think that's what I was saying.
They were going for. And so that is an indication to me that maybe, we're beyond the froth.
AI is dead, guys.
No, it's not dead. It's definitely not dead. The only things that are going to be exciting and happening in the world of tech over the next, outside of maybe in the health fields, is all going to be related to AI. But that being said, it might be a year from now, might be 2 years from now, might be 3 years from now. At some point in the very near future, every single company on earth, if they are to persist as an organization, is going to be an AI company in one way, shape, or another. And so at that point, or shortly there before, being .ai just becomes redundant. Just like, again, I have to use the example of Google. It's like, in 1997, if Google owned search.com, that would be an advantage. In 2023, owning search.com is a fart in the wind. It's irrelevant. It's redundant. Every person on the planet who's ever had access to the internet knows that Google is in the business of search, among other things, but that's the bread and butter. And so I just think that we will reach that point, like every other trend, where this will just become redundant. I think that it's different than an IO or an XYZ in that it's not necessarily just competing for second place. It still is, but there is a nuance to it that is different than like, oh, this is just a cheaper version than the .com. It is more expletive, but it's going to run up into the same conundrum, in my opinion. But I could be wrong.
Well, I think it's, first of all, what we're seeing in AI, it's really wild to me because this isn't just some phase, right? This isn't like, it's going to be transformative.
AI is not just a phase.
Correct. That's what I mean. Yeah. And
although what is a phase, in my humble opinion, if my opinion is ever humble, always humble, is the amount of company creation, product creation in the AI space. And ultimately, so two factors that are leading to, two factors that are leading to the abundance of money flowing into .ai domains today, okay, from end users, are the amount of company and product creation in the AI space, okay? What you're going to see in the next 12, 18 months is that 1%, maybe less than 1% of those companies and products will actually be able to generate positive revenue. And so, and that is simply because of the pace of development, the pace of growth in the space. And so just look at the announcements from OpenAI yesterday, and the stuff that you can do today versus yesterday on ChatGPT literally made 90% of the businesses that have launched over the last 6 months in the AI space obsolete already. They literally don't matter because now they're just a feature on OpenAI. And the ones that aren't are now going to be a feature on Grok, or they're going to be a feature on Llama, or they're going to be a feature on one of the other competitors that's emerging that are even more targeted just for health, or just for auto, or just for comparative shopping, or just for assistance, or all of these things are going to have one or two clear winners depending on the size of the segment, and then everything else, every single fucking great idea that you can come up with and launch right now on your own independent .ai domain name as a business or a product or a subdivision or whatever the fuck it might be, every single one of those things is going to be a feature of one of these larger models. And that's going to happen in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, not much longer than that. If you look at the pace of development, it's absurd. And so every company, if you make donuts, you're going to have some optimization AI that's built in. You're going to have some other AI that's doing your customer, experience, and whatever. It's going to be integrated to the manufacturing, the customer service, the sales, the efficiency, the administration, every aspect of every business. And then this stuff just becomes redundant. And it's very difficult to make money from any of these because how many AI subscriptions is one person going to have? I'm going to have maybe 2 or 3. And then all these other things are just going to be a function or feature of those. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that, I was thinking about this earlier, right? Because you do see what ChatGPT's most recent release and Grok and all that. And, major players are stepping in and just owning, huge swaths of, call it the space, right? Pretty quickly. But I also think because of how sort of transformative this is going to be, and there still will be things we're not anticipating, it's easy to say, hey, we've already got the top 2. That's it. They're going to swallow up everything else. It's just going to all happen very quickly. In some ways, it's going to create kind of these very quick cycles around now what are the next sort of subset feature things that are, we're not exactly maybe in the same sort of bucket, but what are the offshoots and the other things that are all going to be complementary and related? Yeah, and I think you hit on it.
We saw this with SaaS. We saw this with, SaaS, software as a service already. Like it was like, big SaaS companies launched and then everyone was like, oh my God, how cool is that? Create a little product, charge people $5 a month, $12 a month, get thousands of customers. And then, there's these very clear metrics by which companies buy these things. Less than 1% of those companies ever made money, right? Profit. And then they just got sold to one of the larger businesses and became a feature of the larger software set. And so, it's an explosion of innovation, and then an implosion of what do you call it? When everything gets sucked up into
Well, it's almost like you can almost equate it to what's happening in China with the ghost cities, right? They're going to prop up those enormous cities, and then they're going to break them all down, and there's going to be 2 big buildings left when it's all standing.
Yeah.
Done. And but no, I mean, but I think that when we see
that was
these
a
cycles
terrible
happen,
analogy. That was just like the worst analogy I've ever heard.
Okay.
Hey, can Josh and I talk? Can Josh and I talk for a second, just one-on-one?
Yeah.
So, Josh, you and I exist in the real domain world, and Drew, you are right. You are the predictor. You are the AKA. This is the way it's going to be. But we rarely get liquidity in the domain space, right, Josh? We rarely get such a clear thing that people want to buy. And when people want to buy stuff, I want to sell it to them. So because I wholesale on Domain Outlet with my newsletter, they want AIs. I'm going to use my skills to buy them, and I'm going to sell them below market to people who didn't want to look for them. Josh, you got to see some of that opportunity, right? This is what people want, is .AIs, right?
Yeah. I think I talked about it briefly on Sherpa in previous episodes. I've sold, I think, close to $100,000 in .ai at wholesale this year, with pretty good margin. And that's why I like .ai. In my opinion, people want to overpay for it right now. It's like I picked up Gigantic.ai and Aster.ai. And
I almost bid on the Gigantic. I really liked the Gigantic. I saw that one. Sure, it was like, it was super cheap.
I could double my money. I could double my money on that tomorrow, for sure. But I'm not going to just yet. Hold for a little bit.
So can I just make one quick comment? Because I want to hear the other side. I want to hear the counter argument. My concern, and I hear what you're saying, Paige, and I 100% agree with it. And 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I was doing that game. I was using my skills to buy names, and I was selling them at wholesale. I was using the newsletter. I was using my relationships, and I was flipping names. I was selling them through, this bald-headed clown on NameJet. And, not
cool, right, JT?
Like he acts like any of this is actually going to make it into the final cut of the show. You know what I'm saying?
No, it didn't look like he was paying attention. I wanted to see if he was paying attention. Anyway, so
dude, I'm sitting here on Indeed though, trying to see what else is good. It's like
okay.
distracting.
Okay, so the issue, my concern with that approach in a market like this, and it seems like you agree that day will come, right? And you got to say, all right, I think that day comes in 1 year. That day comes in 2 years. You got to decide. You got to make a decision to run a responsible portfolio. You got to say, I believe that this trend has a expiration date of 1 year, 2 years, 2.5 years, 1.5, whatever it is. You decide. Hopefully it's an educated assessment. Okay. And then you have to say, all right, right now we are at, we are running. We're at peak sell-through. Okay. What's that sell-through rate? Are you selling, 10% of your portfolio a month if you extrapolate it out? I mean, this whole trend has only, been around maybe a year, but what is your sell-through rate? And can you maintain that sell-through rate for the next, whatever that period of time is that you've assessed is the expiration date? And then when it comes time, if your sell-through rate is 10% a year, which would be very good, generally speaking, I don't think it's unimaginable because AI specifically is so hot. So if you're buying decent names, your sell-through rate is going to be higher than the just general, let's say 2% is sort of the accepted average sell-through rate for a large portfolio. If you are, let's say, achieving 10%, okay, you're achieving 15%. These are extraordinary numbers. And if you're doing that and you do it for 3 years, you're now at, let's say, 45%, which again is I would tell you extraordinary. Please tell me if I'm wrong. And then you're still left with 55% of your portfolio, right? And so depending on what you paid, these things have very high renewal costs, okay? You're talking about 55% of your portfolio is left That means if you sold each of those names at 2x what you paid, ignoring renewals, you broke even. Okay, so if you sold 45% of your portfolio, ignoring renewals over a 3-year period of time, you break even. You actually lose 5%, but let's call it break even. If you add in the fact that you've got $100 plus $75 to $150 renewal prices, you lost a lot of money, and unless you sold for a significant margin. And so if you're not getting, I would say you got a 2-year window here, and it might be shorter than that, but I would say conservatively you have a 2-year window, and I would say it probably is shorter than that, but let's just say it's 2 years. You need to be selling basically at least at an absolute minimum, 5x what you paid to make this exercise make sense.
I'll just take initial reaction to that real quick. I mean, for me, I only buy names that I'm looking to sell at retail. Anyway, I'm not trying to sell them at wholesale. That's not the point. And the only reason why
irrelevant though, right? Because
I'm just saying it is relevant, because if you're looking to,
it's only relevant to the price you're selling at. But again,
exactly,
lower price, you need to sell more names, right? So it's just a matter of adjusting the math, but the math is the same.
Yeah, well, in my case, it means that I'm comfortable holding these domains as well. So I only sold domains, these .ai names at wholesale, because I feel like I've been offered, it's way over 10x my acquisition cost at a wholesale price, and it just makes sense for me to sell them. It's not that I wanted to sell these at wholesale. It's just that the kind of that curve went so hot that I was like, okay, like you can have it for this, because quite simply, I'm getting the return that I want on my money for that specific part of the investment. So that's in my case. Page might be a little bit different, but for me, it's opportunistic, and that's it's nothing more than that. In terms of the holding costs of the domains, I mean, how many .ai domains do I have? Maybe like 20. I don't know, not that many. So in the amount of money that I've already made on them, if they all get dropped and I don't recoup any of my investment on them, I'm still well in the profit. So you just got to manage the portfolio accordingly. It's like what Page talked about in the beginning. It's like don't get too far ahead of yourself, because if you do, it's like what you talk about. You could run into some trouble. You could be left with more than you can chew. And I think that's an important point.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I've probably changed how I do it, Drew. I look now, as opposed to like baseball where you hit home runs, strikeout, home run. This is more, especially I've become a fan of world football, more like soccer. I'm buying, I'm selling at wholesale so that the names I'm left with, I have no investment in. I'm all house money. And then I can be there and let random selection take off some of my better names right before everyone else sees that the trend is dying. So it's more of a build myself up to the point that I can marry some AIs. You know what I mean? But until then, it is high turnover. My sell-through rate's going to be 100%. You know what I mean? I think the 2% number is dead. I don't buy a domain name unless there's a 25% chance I'm going to sell it at wholesale and 100% chance I'm going to sell it at retail, just depending on price. You know
other way around. 100% wholesale, 2% or whatever you said it.
100% of retail. If it just depending on price. I should not buy a name unless I think I price it at $49 in 1 year at Afternic, it should sell.
Okay.
If not, I should not buy that name. So it's just so, but in terms of the AI, the second thing is there's going to be a false scarcity in AI because of the 2-year registration term. So you're going to have unrealistic sellers holding on to inventory with not a lot of new names coming from drops. You know what I mean? So I think I'm going to be selling underneath that, the bid and ask. I'm going to be selling under the ask because there's so many people holding them. And then 6 months before that 2-year renewal comes, you're going to see a bunch of stuff on the market. That's my prediction, if I can predict. So,
yeah, makes sense.
So
makes sense.
You want me to go? Should we go back to a domain that?
Yeah, go. Give it to us. Give it to us, baby.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to jeer us so
honestly,
this is
really
like
what we need to do more of. Is this is the key? This is the whole point of Domain Sherpa. These are the conversations that actually add value. The audience has spoken. This is what everybody wants to hear. I mean, this is why we bring the experts on, is to talk about how to run a portfolio. What are the pitfalls to watch out for? How to think about sell-through, how to price names. I mean, what Page just said, which is probably going to go unnoticed by 99.9% of the people, is so important. Like selling below the ask. There's a market pricing that people are assigning to these names. And if you can come in below that and you understand this very interesting dynamic that actually I hadn't even thought about, which is that these are 2-year renewals. And that creates this natural window that even if the trend changes, even if you won't get the supply pressure necessarily that you would otherwise. And so, anyways, there's a whole bunch of nuance there that is very important, and it gets fleshed out in these types of conversations.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's actually what I was going to say too. It's like, look, the domain game, the NameJet list, like, those are just ways to facilitate broader discussions to really try to help drive, the audience so they understand what they're doing out there, right? Because even, this goes back to what we said at the beginning. Page being really open about some of the struggles with managing his own portfolio can show you that somebody who's been doing this for 20 years, can struggle. Then, somebody who's just stepping into the space is going to have challenges unless they're just, funded and, or like we said, doing it as a hobby and, and the money doesn't matter. So no, I think all that makes sense. I think it's an interesting way to hear you guys talk about the differences. I guess my point before, what I was trying to say, Drew, before you insulted me and made me feel really good about myself, was that I think you're going to have these cycles where there's going to be activity. Activity begets, trading, buying, selling, and those kinds of. So even though you might not have clear winners, clear losers, it's like, it's like a crypto ICO boom, right? I mean, Ethereum and other things were the stalwarts that remained after the dust settled when a lot of things failed, but it created all sorts of activity in the meantime, which was very good for the folks that were in the mix. So anyway, so that's all I'm saying. And now we can move on, but this is good stuff. It's good stuff. So
when did you buy it, Josh?
I talked to my therapist about. All right, let's go. Let's keep it moving. Josh, you got a name for the domain game?
Yeah, sure. Let's go. I bought storytellers.com.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh, nice one. I like that. All that talk about AI, and here you come, bringing it .com.
Storytellers.com. Love it though. It's
all right.
Content creation.
Page, you know how we're doing it these days, right? Yeah, there you go. Look at you. Storytellers.com. Hey, this is a buy?
It's a buy.
Buy. Storytellers.com.
All right.
See how much I paid.
As it's a buy, that's definitely gonna, so.
Right. I love it.
All right, y'all ready? 3, 2, 1. Let's flip. Let's see what we got.
Oh, JT.
All right, we got Page at $4,863. I'm at $7,495, and Drew is at $7,595. That's crazy. So, all right. So I'm a little bit. So I got the under. I got that in between Page and Drew, basically.
You got sandwiched.
Yeah, I don't have really a good margin for me. So
yeah, you got sandwich, man. You got sandwich. Drew got the win.
Ooh, okay.
But I paid like double that, 15 G's.
Wow.
Okay.
I think that's what we paid for shortstories.com.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a fantastic domain. I love it. And I think that, when you talk about content creation and creatives, and now you can dovetail this into an AI conversation about, the ability for AI to create content going forward and stories and movies and shorts and animation and all sorts of stuff. I mean, there's a cool, that's just my rapid reaction.
It's a cool name. It's a cool name. Yeah,
where'd you buy it, and give us some detail?
I bought it from the original owner. It was at NetSol. they recently listed it for a price slightly higher than that and basically negotiated down. That was as low as they would go. And it has pretty good stats. And I was borderline, but I decided to pull the trigger. Yeah, I mean,
I like that name. I think it's a very cool name. It's kind of like a masterminds.
I'm happy with it. I'm happy.
It's a cool name.
Yeah, Josh, I really like it. The first thing I thought of was Kobe. You know, when he started his second career, it was going to be this concept of storytelling. You know what I mean? Whether it was documentaries or everything he was doing. I just remember hearing him say that. And the stuff that I'm doing for next year, the future of domains is all about storytelling. So I think I overestimated your desire to be thrifty, but great name.
That's absolutely right. You know,
well, he just told us how he was popping off all these AI sales. So he had a little money burning a hole in his pocket.
Money to burn.
One of the things that I've changed a lot over the last, I would say, 2 years is that when a name comes up that doesn't come up very often, regardless of whether it's kind of like that mid to high tier, even like this type of name, you don't see opportunities to buy them very often. And to be fair, if you want to buy them, most of the time you have to overpay a little bit. I don't actually think I overpaid for this one. I think it's about right, but I will overpay for names now because they're so hard to get. And if I want to beat, out some of you guys, I gotta pay more. So I will do it, and it's just, and I think it's worth it.
Yeah, great name. All right, good stuff. Drew gets the point. All right, Paige, what about you, man? Buy, sell?
I'm gonna do a buy. The other thing that's changed for me is I bought grandfathers.com. Paige is in the grandfather business these days.
Congratulations, man.
Wow, congratulations. That's great.
So it used to be I showed up in Vegas with the family while everyone else was young, solo, and crazy. And now I'm leading the charge. So I bought grandfathers.com, the plural. Grandfathers.com.
Very cool.
All right. All right. All right. Y'all ready? All right. Flip it. All right. So Josh is at 3,500. I'm at 12,000.
JT got sandwiched again.
495, and Drew is at 14,895.
JT just wants to be the meat and the cheese.
So I bought this at the NamesCon auction.
Ooh, okay.
And I didn't have a paddle. And I walked in the room and they were selling stopworking.com. And I didn't have a paddle, and it was at 1,500. And I'm like, I was just going to bid with my hand. And the only other time I was tempted to do that, this is a long story, but it's worth it, was at a LA auction with Drew as the high bidder on Americans.org for like $800 or something.
Yeah.
And I walked in the room and I'm like, I'm not, So anyway.
I bought it. That's crazy. But yeah, I bought that for like $800. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It was Latona. It was a Latona auction. And then I sold that to Don Woodring for about $5,000, which is already too cheap. But I bought it for about $800. Sold to Don for $5,000.
So then I got emotional. I went back and got a paddle. So now I'm looking to buy. And I'm like, I'm gonna, I dumped my girlfriend. I'm gonna date another one. So then grandfathers came up. And I thought I was the only bid at 1,500. There was some whatever. It was 2,400. So I bought it, won it, and was happy to win it. And
you smoked it.
So, grandfathers.com. So first seniors, then grandfathers. There you go.
Yeah, $2,400. That's crazy, man. It's funny coming right after storytellers too, and I'm like, I underbid.
I know, and I thought I would get grief for the S, and no one brought that up with Josh too. So I'm glad we're finally not going to give grief to the S. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we talk about it a lot. The S, adding the S changes it from a particular, more of a brand to a, more of a product. But storytellers and grandfathers. I don't know. I mean, it's not like you're going to go try to, it's not like, oh, now it went from, potential big brand to a product that you're going to sell, right? You're not selling
Yeah, and
storytellers.
unfortunate that the singular is like a mountain resort. It's like Grandfather Lake somewhere, established company. So it's not like another grandfather site. So it could be, but at least now it's
I would have paid more for grandfather than grandfathers, but I still like grandfathers, just like I like storytellers a lot, and storytellers.
Or I can sell clocks
already too. So good stuff. All right. So So that one went to Josh. Drew's got a point, but now Drew's got to bring up the next name. And if Josh gets this point, then he's taking home the title. So let's see.
All right. I'm going with a buy.
A lot of buys today. Everybody's buying.
Vibration.
The tiebreaker is the last one to win wins, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. We've done tiebreakers where we'll bring up another name, So I see. You're saying,
anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's the only way I get
Drew,
it.
Sorry.
You know what? We can do that
right.
for you, Page. That's the deal. You know what I'm saying?
Vibration.com. Vibration.com.
I didn't know we bought this.
Is that private buy, Drew?
Mm-hmm.
Look at you trying to get deep. The deeds.
Yeah,
the deeds, as the kids say.
Vibration.com. All right. All right. I get to participate on this. Let's see. Vibration.com.
Rastaman Vibration.
All right. I'm ready when you guys are. All right. Ready? Flip. All right. Ooh, okay. I'm low. I'm the low man on 7495. Page at $13,827. Josh coming in at $47,500. I hope we didn't.
So Josh gets the point, but we were lower than that. We were at 35.
Oh, okay.
35.
Nice one.
I've been on this little kick. I've been trying to teach myself quantum physics and watching a bunch of podcasts, reading books, and just YouTube channels and stuff. And it's really interesting. Anyways, this whole journey started with a quote. I mean, I've been fascinated by Nikola Tesla for a very long time. And there's a famous quote from Nikola Tesla that if you want to understand the universe, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And that resonates with me, pun intended. And energy.com is, unobtainable basically without spending an insane amount of money. Frequency.com I didn't necessarily love it. I forget. Yeah, I forgot what was on that. And then and vibration.com was owned by a drilling and mining equipment company that they acquired it through former company acquisition, et cetera. And so I reached out, was basically told, no, we're not interested in selling it. A couple of days later, the actual CEO of the company reached out and was like, actually, because it was some lower person that was like, no, we're not going to sell it. And then the CEO reached out and was like, you know what? I'd be very happy to sell that name. How much you want to pay? And we made a deal, and I was quite happy with it. And I very happy with that name. I actually
well done. Well done.
This is one of those names that I actually really personally value quite substantially.
Well, it's also a good name. You paid under.
Great name.
You paid under. You like there are multiple investors that would have paid more than that. So
you
got a great deal.
Yeah,
it's a great name. There's a lot of end users out there. Sorry.
Okay. I think it's the exact way that the industry's changed, Drew, and is that this is not a vibration seismic equipment company buying it for the keyword value. Connotation, the emotion, the story, for Josh's word, that it becomes and it represents, and then you apply that to some type of high margin business, and all of a sudden you get this combination that's amazing. And then I think of the line from Wall Street, if you're right, nickels and dimes won't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If this
exactly.
world, this stuff that we're doing, we talk about 10 years from now, someone saying vibration in a world that's completely different, both for physics and domains, it'll be like, you paid what? So yeah, I really think it speaks to the way the industry's changed. I like it.
Boom. And Josh gets the point. So that means that Josh gets the win. And
As
that means
usual.
Josh gets the swag. I got a Domain Sherpa hoodie for you in the closet, and I can come and
dude, I would have a whole closet of Domain Sherpa hoodies if you would actually deliver me a
come
Domain
to the crib,
Sherpa
man. What, you know what I'm saying? Come by the house.
Yeah, Josh,
I literally live 7 minutes away from
You
you.
should just go kick his door in and just take
Literally come hang out, man. We'll play some pickleball. You can show me what the rules are. And
I'm coming over soon.
Let's go, man.
We'll go hit up fish camp. We'll go hit up fish camp, and then I'll come over your place for a little bit.
What's fish camp? What's fish camp?
It's a restaurant close to JT. It's real good. It's got some great starters, great desserts.
What are we talking about? Is it like seafood? Is it?
Yeah. It's on the Intracoastal. It's beautiful. They got great food. It's like right on the water. And I
never got an invite to fish camp.
Dude, come on, man. I told you, bring the family, come visit. I told you, bring the family. And his response was, no way we're coming up there. If we're going to go to Florida, we're going to go to Miami. And I'm like, all right, well, fine. And then
dude, it's underrated. We're in a good spot. Have you been here?
I hear it all the time. I actually would like to, I'd like to come check it out. I just,
let's go. We can do a team thing here. We can have Chris come. Chris is trying to come visit as well. So let's. Billy is already here. Billy lives here now.
Yeah.
You guys do a meetup. I'll be there.
Let's
I want
go.
North Florida meetup. Boom, I'm there.
Oh, let's go. We can do it at the NetSol headquarters.
Is that technically, is that North Florida or is that like mid Florida?
No, North Florida. Yeah, it's North.
You're in North Florida. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So
okay. What's the largest city north of you?
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville technically.
Well, I think of you as Jacksonville.
Then it would be Atlanta.
No, Savannah.
No, in Florida, I'm talking about.
No, we're at the top of Florida. Like above us is Georgia. Like we're right on the cusp.
Oh, okay.
Savannah's 2 hours north.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then Atlanta's about 5 hours kind of north and up that way. So, and Orlando's 2 hours south and down that way, and Miami's 5 hours all the way straight south.
Oh, you can pull from Raleigh, Charlotte. I like it. Regional meetup. I'm in.
Yeah, let's do it. We can make it happen. So it's a hidden gem here. When we moved here, it was the kind of thing where we were just where we didn't even realize how cool it was until we got down here. And then it's like everybody and then Josh shows up and Billy makes the move. We got some other family and friends who've come here. Let's go.
MediaOptions is the industry's leading domain broker specializing in domain acquisitions, high-value domain sales, and domain name consultation. As pioneers and thought leaders on the subject of the domain aftermarket and domain name value, plus through their clear domain acquisition service, MediaOptions offers startups and established corporations an unparalleled scope of high-value domain options, providing access to domain names and curation technologies not available elsewhere. MediaOptions believes in the power of a great domain name and is dedicated to helping you obtain yours. Call or email today to put a domain to work for you.
Anyway,
man, Paige, I just realized I got almost as much gray hair in my beard as you do. We've come a long way, man. We've come a long way.
Well, we're gonna get to that. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. We just closed up the domain game. Let's get into a little NameJetGonnaJet, and then we can talk about a few more things before we go. If you guys got the list. So as everybody knows what we do here, let me see. So, all right. So we got NameJetGonnaJet, sponsored by NameJet, and that's where we review a list of domains coming up for auction, right? We'll see what the Sherpas like, what they don't like. You can go to DomainSherpa.com, go to this particular episode's page. You can download the spreadsheet that has the list of domains. It has the Esteban appraisals. It has how many back orders as of the time we record the show, the order by date. These are all expiring domains. So, although you don't necessarily have to have a bid on them, but if you want to make sure that you don't miss them, you probably want to back order them before that back order end date, so that you can participate in the auction, as well as some other things and some links and all that good stuff. So shout out to our friends at NameJet, and let's rock and roll and see what you guys think of the list. Since Page is the guest, you know what I'm saying, the special guest, why don't we let him take the first crack at the list? What do you think, man? What's on here that you like? Maybe give us there's about 15 names, so 3 or 4 that you like, one you don't, or whatever.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary.
I feel you. I love that one too. So that's a long.com right there.
The Raven. That's the first verse of the Raven.
I know. Quote the Raven nevermore, man. I
there
love
you
it.
go. There we go. So I like one. I'm a the guy, so I like it. I guess since it was written in 1845, maybe it's not copyrighted or something like that. But I like the Raven. But it's probably going to go higher than I want to pay. Mm-hmm. I'm a geo person, so I like Seaside. And I had cross current on my list. I think it's one of those words that at first glance you skip over it. I'm hoping everyone does. But then you kind of start dating it and you start loving it and you start realizing what a cross current could be and discussion. And, you kind of enhance it and stage it. So I wouldn't mind owning crosscurrent.com under $2,000. But I don't think I'll be able to. So.
All right. And anything on this list that you would avoid?
I think you got to be careful with SarasotaFlorida.com because I can't believe you guys are still using Estabot. Let's party like it's 2011. And
hey, what's the alternative? And for what it's worth, we say it on the show.
Don't type chatai.com into Estabot. See what you get. $1,200. So anyway, but I think because so many people search for addresses, the city-state combo shows up with these huge stats, you know what I mean? And sometimes it may not be that. Now, you do have Sarasota Springs, I guess, in New York. So I kind of like it because you could differentiate Saratoga, Florida, I think. Isn't there a Saratoga in Florida? Yeah. So, but be careful with the Estabot and just say, oh my gosh. What's that?
One Sarasota, one Saratoga.
Yeah, close enough. For a domain.
Sarasota Springs, Saratoga Springs. Saratoga Springs is where they do the racehorses. That's in New York. But
this won't be the first time that I made a mistake like that. So,
but I think but your point is a good one, right? About the geo stuff. Like you look at, first of all, we say it on every show that we mention it. The Estabot appraisals, you take it with a grain of salt. Tough to algorithmically value a domain, right? Domains are snowflakes, and they're ultimately gonna, they're gonna be valued at what somebody's willing to pay for it. But it is just an extra data point, and people use it. So shout out to them. But yeah, I mean, it does have this big sort of inflated Estabot valuation, which I don't think is realistic. So I don't even think Sarasota.com, let alone Sarasotaflorida.com, is going to sit there and get anything close to the appraisal, so that they've got $172,000 or something on there right now. So that's definitely one of those funky ones, which shows some of the challenges with the algorithm. But
yeah, I mean, look, I say it all the time, but just to remind people again, literally, I pay zero attention to the valuation that Estabot gives. It is a quick and dirty, easy way to quickly get some of the statistics around the name. In particular, the only to be honest, the only meaningful data point at this point in time that I get from Estabot is the overture score, the TLD score, overture TLD score, because that tells you as of 2006, when Overture stopped recording the data, how much type-in traffic a domain got. And if there was, assuming there was not a active, fully developed website on the domain at that point, it's a very good indication of what kind of type-in traffic a domain might get. So that's domains that have any Overture TLD score, for me, immediately are like a top line filter of like, ooh, this is an interesting name that I should pay more attention to. Because if people are typing it in 2006, there was a reason for that, right? And either it's a typo of something that was popular, or it is a generic name or an acronym that was popular, or it was, there's a reason, or it was a fully developed website and was getting type-in traffic because of the brand recognition. In which case you can discount that because obviously there's no longer a website. But I do like the that Overture score, that OVT score that Estabot gives. I don't even know where you get that these days. other than best of all. But the search volume is no longer accurate. The CPCs are no longer accurate, and the appraisal value is worthless.
How do you really feel? You know, it's great that they're not a sponsor.
No, I mean,
like, really, just say what you think. You know, not that we would hold back otherwise, but but I think I think that's very important, and I think
some of that is their own fault, but most of it isn't. You know, Google doesn't share that data through APIs anymore, and so the search volume and CPCs are historical; they're not current, and you know, I guess Alexa score is probably right. I'm not sure. I haven't actually checked that.
I can't help myself. I got to jump in. Last time I was on Sherpa, Drew, weren't you inventing a domain appraisal tool that would have taken care of all this? And didn't we talk about that for 4 years or something?
Yeah. I mean, listen, we bought valuate.com. We got all the social media handles. You know, we were I hired this Oxford PhD kid that was, you know, working on it for me. Then I hired this local Portuguese engineer that was working on it, and there's just a bunch. You know, now
it's hard. Yeah,
now it can be done. Now it can be done. But there was a bunch of stuff that was just harder to get over than anticipated. Let's say.
Love it.
Now it could be done. I just, you know, I'm kind of tired of building tools, and I'm tired of building anything, to be quite honest. I basically love making deals. It's what I'm really good at. Everything else seems like work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is true. It is a lot of work, you know.
Except Sherpa. This is fun. Sherpa is actually fun.
Hey, it's why we do it, right? All right. So, well, good stuff. I think, the Raven to me is just an awesome name. I mean, coming off of it, I think you bring up an interesting point. I don't know the specifics around, like, you know, public domain and Edgar Allan Poe's works and all that stuff. But
his stuff's got to be the public domain at this point, no?
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, is somebody going to Google it? Are we asking ChatGPT? Like, where's
I believe he's actually from Rhode Island, where I'm from. I believe, or actually, at least he did a bunch of his writing in Providence.
Well, he was in Maryland and Baltimore for a while too. I know Baltimore was a big spot for him. So is this we about to go down this rabbit hole right now? Are we about to, you know?
I want to see some more names out of NameJet. What do you guys got?
Let's see.
Yeah, so who wants to go next and start talking about what they like and don't like?
All right. Go ahead, Josh.
All right. Seaside.org. I like that name. I don't think it's...
You like it?
I don't think it's that valuable, but I like it.
I think I used to own it.
Yeah. I feel like that should be your name for some reason. You're the sea merchant, man. And so I like that name. You know, I like magician.net, but I just don't like .net. I really don't. I wish I did, but it just sucks. Nobody wants it anymore. It's just like it's got for every time a new TLD gets hot, .net just falls a little bit further down the pecking order, in my opinion. Obviously, the Raven is a great name. NZL.com, it doesn't have great stats, but I'm pretty sure that's the abbreviation for New Zealand, which is kind of cool, I guess. I mean, in terms of ones that we haven't spoken about, you know, quicklift.com is good. That's a good name. That's a name that I would like.
Hey, if you were a Coke dealer, that'd be a great name to put on your business card.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's one of those that actually, like, that it has multiple uses, right? I mean, I wasn't even thinking about that kind of lift, but if you're looking to put out an energy product and it's called Quick Lift, damn, that's a brand.
An energy drink, Quick Lift.
Drive-through boob lift.
It shows, or Quick Lift shows up with the nondescript packaging in your mailbox. You got
quick facelift. Quick facelift. Go to quicklift.club.
I actually thought of it like ride sharing.
Yeah, that's how I thought of it as well. So,
that was the last thing.
I like that name even more now. There's plenty of uses for that.
We're doing it for our energy drink, quick lift.
Yeah.
Hey,
quick
Drew,
lift.
Media Options newsletter 2013, seaside.org.
No way.
Is it?
Yeah.
I knew I'd seen this name. I looked in the
But
inventory
it's
though.
funny because it's right next to 5 of my names I had in your letter that day. So now I'm trying to think who's it was selling. Yeah, 2013 Media Options.
So I looked at the inventory. We used to own seasideflorida.com, and we also used to own, or unfortunately might even still own. Nope, used to own iseaside.com. iseaside.com.
Unfortunately, might still own.
Let's see. Anybody own that name today? Let's see. iSeaside. So anyways, I actually
own seafood. I actually own seafoodmerchant.com. That should be his name.
I'll bet you $100 that in 5 years you're still going to own that. In 10 years you're still going to own it.
Yeah.
Real quick, Paige, what do you think about .nets generally? You know, are you a .net guy? Do you have success selling those? Like,
I think the hard part is as kind of a falling knife because VeriSign still won't sponsor it at all with $1 of marketing. Where I would be greedy to buy is so far below the person who's held it for 10 years and is saying, I might be willing to sell and I'd be willing to let it go. And they still have a 2005 price on it. So for me, I do sell one class of .NET names. Okay. But it's in my cheap range of under 1,000. But yeah, it would have to be like someone just throwing it away, and then I might buy it, and then I would probably sell it at wholesale. Don't see too many retail sales of .nets.
Yeah, I mean, I'm that all tracks. All right, Drew, what about you? You got any names on the list you like, don't like that we haven't talked about?
Let's see. Hold on. I do like magician.net because I'm, self-deprecating. But I love the Raven. Let's see. We kind of talked. I mean, the NZL is, the obvious one. Makura.com on there. I didn't actually check if that means anything, but it's one of those names that just, if you've been around long enough, you just see a name like that, and that it's one of those things that, like, someday, it's one of those names that I get hired to go acquire, and you're like, why are you willing to pay $500,000 for that name? Or like, or even if it's 75,000, it just,
and here's why it's because it means
somebody.
It means pillow in Japanese, and I think and I think that's a fantastic name because, I mean, just right now, all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, like let's go get it. Let's get that back order in there.
Yeah. So it did stand out to me as just one of those words that, whether it was a word or it was just made up, it was like close enough to a bunch of known words that made it interesting to me. I like rainbowfarm.com. I think it's a great little name, but you just have to understand who your audience is. It's like, if you can't buy that for $100 or less, it's not worth buying because the end user is not paying you more than $500 to $1,500, maybe $2,500 if you.
I just included it because I know how much you hate the whole idea of rainbows and butterflies, so I just included that in there just to trigger you a little bit,
Yeah, but it does actually make Rainbow Farm is kind of a kind of good little name. It's like oh, my food's organic. It's Rainbow Farm. I don't know.
What I've done recently on names like Rainbow Farm sometimes is I'll buy it and I'll renew it for 5 years. And I'll just tell myself, I don't want to have to think about it each year. I'm buying it because I think somebody may come for it in 5 years. Why not pay the 5 years, be completely married to that strategy, not have to worry, and because otherwise depending on how you felt that month, I may or may not renew it. So if
Totally.
like you say, if you get it for 100, make it 150, lock it in the vault. Someone comes at retail, they get it.
Yep. That's right. I wish
like
there was a way to do that with like stocks.
Another name that I think is and I guess interesting is framerate.com. Nobody's mentioned framerate, but I like
that's
that.
A good name. That's a good name.
I guess so. Yeah, sure.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And then a name that I would say, I don't love, but I'm trying to figure out, like, what about Mechanical Bull? Can you do anything with that?
No.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, it's got a value, right? There's a home for it. It's got a value. It's just not going to be high. It's low 5 figures, and probably an uphill battle to get that. But it's not a bad little name. The one that I really hate is digital coupons. It's like, this is the same argument I'm making about AI. Is like, does anybody cut coupons out of a newspaper anymore? Like, aren't all coupons digital at this point? You know what I mean? Like, I just, digital coupons is kind of like redundant. It's just, especially if you're doing coupons online, digitalcoupons.com. It's just like, it's redundant. It doesn't, if it's anything to do with coupons and it's online, which is obviously the case if it's a domain name, then it's totally redundant and useless. So I hate that name. That's a name that is 100% worthless in my opinion.
Yeah. That's what reminds me of one of the first names I ever sold in the industry. Was Cloud Online. Online.
Yeah.
Sold it.
Yeah. I think that if you went to coupons.com, you said, hey guys, do you want digitalcoupons.com for $69? They would be like, no, they wouldn't even reply to your email.
Well, I think, now we've covered every name on the only name we didn't mention. Actually, there's one or two, but one of them is, what about this misspelling of mafia? MAFYA, mafia. Is that terrible?
I think that your description of the name says everything you need to know.
It does not pass the
it's like, even if it was the real word mafia.com, it's like, oh well, I guess it could be a video game, or like, I don't know, it's a book title, or what are you doing with that? It's a movie? You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's going to be my next $1 billion unicorn tech startup, Mafia. Like,
it's developed.
No,
it's a fashion brand.
Mafia.
What, mafia.com? Yeah, but fashion brands, like, unless you're, Hugo Boss, like, they're not paying money for it. You know what I mean? Like,
and at first glance, this is mafia.
Mafia.
Yeah.
I don't see mafia there. Mafia. Even if you were reaching for a squad help, brand bucket, whatever, it's mafia.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's that's what I said. I think that's about as lame as it gets on the list, but otherwise some good stuff. And I will tell you though, so going through the NameJet list,
hold on, stop 1 second. All right, I actually have to put my foot in my mouth. I just wanted to double check on digital coupons. There is almost 7,000 people a month in the United States alone that search for digital coupons. Interestingly, Russia is number 2 for that search term. Weird enough. Followed by India a mile away. On the long tail, Kroger, supermarket chain, Kroger digital coupons, 124,000 exact match searches per month. 124,000. CPCs are very low. You're talking about 75, 80 cents, but that's not,
it's not bad.
It's not nothing. So I literally said this domain was worthless. I do continue to believe this is an incredibly difficult domain to sell, but it might have a home. It might have some value. It certainly is not worth nothing. It's not worth nothing. I'm not going to tell anybody that they should buy it, because I continue to believe it is not a tremendous economic opportunity, but I do stand corrected. There are people stupid enough to search for digital coupons, and there are advertisers willing to buy that stupid search. And there appears to be a whole bunch of people that still use the term digital coupons, such as Publix digital coupons with 14,000 searches, Stop and Shop digital coupons with 14,000 searches, Dollar General digital coupons, 25,000, ShopRite digital coupons, 50,000. And as I said, Kroger, 125. So anyways.
I like your first take, Drew, because I like the name. So
yeah, exactly. I'm like,
it's only
do you
when
want me to mute
take it
him?
down to zero in the trash can, in the yard sale, out there with a dollar sticker on it, that I think you can slowly, like you did, build up from zero. But you're right, from the private jet level, looking down on it, your first take, it sucks. But then if you actually go to zero and then build it back up, that's where I found some back.
Yeah, and so hey, to quote Braden Pollock, it's not that the domain is worthless; it's just worth less, you know. And also, what I find interesting is people who are getting digital coupons for Dollar General or whatever. Man, I guess you're trying to get stuff for less than $1, you know, which is that alone is an accomplishment to be able to buy anything.
You're in my neck of the woods now. Be careful.
Less,
I know where Jacksonville is. Okay.
Okay. Hey, I'm just saying, these days with inflation, there's very little that you can get for less than $1.
Well, listen, I was wearing this cashmere sweater yesterday that I bought at Century 21. And for all you that don't know what Century 21 is, it's literally, for me, it's like Disneyland. I love that place. I don't care how much money you got. Like, you go Century. Well, it's not what it used to be before they went bankrupt. And it was actually really Disneyland. Now it's kind of a shit show. But you used to go in there and it was all the like disregarded fashion, like high-end fashion. And on average, it was 90% off. And sometimes you get that stuff and it was 99% off. And I'm telling you, there are almost nothing. There may be very few things that make me happier than like when you go to the checkout, you get a giant shopping cart of stuff with 90 to 99% off. And you do your checkout. And it's like, you spent, I spent $1,000 in there. But on the back of your receipt, it says, this is how much you saved. And it's like, you saved $273,000 on your $1,000 purchase. And I'm like, yes.
Oh, let's go.
Yes.
Love it. All right. Well, good stuff. All right. So that's the list. NameJetGonnaJet. So let's slide into GrandClosing. And, we teased everybody a little bit before where we were talking about an offline conversation we were having, which was kind of picking up on a conversation you guys started having 10 years ago. So how do you want to segue into this page? You want to give us an idea of some of the things you're into and up to at the moment, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah.
What are you doing? What you got going on?
Because successful domaining is about waiting for a good offer, I have a lot of time on my hands. So there's too many other people bidding up GoDaddy Expire auctions that I just don't go there. And I don't understand SEO domains, which is probably half the volume there these days. So for me to put a dime into Web3, I had to kind of understand it. So I've been through Ethereum, I've been through Handshake, I've been through Unstoppable, and I've worked with a company called Freename the past year, where it's Web3 domains that don't work on the real internet, but you can still own your own TLD. And so I've been doing some work with them, finally met them at the ICANN meeting, where there was a real sea change in the way these blockchain domains are being perceived. And so that's made me a better domainer, because to understand Web3, you have to understand what you have in Web2. And and it's critical thinking to say, how can it's not one or the other. So it's helped me be a better Web2 domainer to understand Web3. And I think the future of domains, that's what I'm kind of calling next year. I'm going to speak about it at Domainer Expo in Vegas, is going to be borrowing some of these reasons that 20 million domains were sold that don't resolve on the existing internet. How bad is our product of these new GTLDs, where you could have names that don't even resolve and 20 million people bought them because of identity, emotional connection, the way they were marketed? And somewhere between those two is going to be my 2024. So that's what I've been doing. But when I talked to Drew at the beginning too, I said, I'm too lazy to outbound, so I can't do that. I don't have enough money to buy oneword.coms, So the only thing left from back in the day was fractionalization, securitization, creating markets for slivers or shards of domain names. And I've worked all year since you guys came out with the Rally Road one to try to come up with a solution where your shares would be liquid right away, and I can't find one. So we're going to do one a little different with crowdfunding. And that's when we started talking about the fractionalizing of these domain names. And that was our old school topic. So there's a long segue.
Yeah, no, I dig it, man. I dig it. So
yeah, I mean, just to add color, Paige and I, and Billy, if you could find it, go back and find the clip, of Paige and I, it's probably multiple, discussing the idea of fractional domains probably 10 years ago, maybe even more. Not a lot has been done since then. But as Paige said, we launched 2 deals on Rally Road. And I think, we are going to most likely have some really, 2, directions.com, hotspot.com.
Didn't we do the bucket?
There's some 3 letters, isn't there?
No, we never did that. We planned to. Did we do that? Right? I don't think we did it. We planned to. They were meant to. There were some hiccups with the SEC that are not around domain names, just more generally with Rally. And then that's all resolved. It wasn't even a big problem, but it just caused them to stop
the process.
Yeah. And so, anyways, I think we have some really exciting stuff that we will launch on that front in a more interactive, integrated way, in the coming year. And so I'm excited for anybody that's looking at it this way, because I really believe, much like I did a decade ago, that this is the way forward to growing the pie. This is one of the ways forward to growing the pie. I think, lease with an option to buy, marketplace, and fractional ownership to, help carry these names, is what will lead this to being a actual asset class. As fringe as it may be, a recognized asset class, one that can be lent against. If you have the ability to mark to market and say, oh, this domain has 1,200 investors in it, and this is the price that the market is pricing it at, that allows you, and it allows banks and insurance companies to get comfortable with assigning a value to a domain name, because it's an open, fully secured, regulated equities market for these domain names, and it's a true mark-to-market valuation. And I think that's going to have big implications to the future domains. So I think it's really cool, and I'm excited to see what you guys do. I think all of this is, I think every initiative in that front is positive momentum.
Yeah, and a lot of this comes from the work I'm doing with my daughter. My daughter's 22. She's does microbiology during the day, and her and I are working on a project for .cfd, which has been rebranded as Clothing Fashion Design. And I'm kind of teaching her domains, but more importantly, I'm saying, how does this sound to you? How do domains sound to you? What do you hear? And what she hears is, don't tell me what to do, and this is boring, and I don't need them. And we've got to admit that if we're going to connect with those 2 generations that miss domain names, that don't know what type in traffic is, don't remember the business.com sale. But the reason I bring it up is because the idea of owning shares of really good domains, Julie doesn't want to own crap domains. If I tell her to go to expired domains and buy the 100 millionth best.com and wait 3 years and hope for an afternick sale, why? Yeah. She's like, why? I want to own the best. So, totally. Should she go to a new G that even the stuff we're doing with CFD has to do with community, but it was appealing to her, Drew. And that's why I thought, it does make sense that they're going to want to buy the best. And
listen, you tell there is like,
it all. That's okay. I can own part.
There's roughly $1 billion being spent every single year buying what Rick Schwartz affectionately refers to as pigeon shit.
Pigeon
And
shit.
it's exactly what you're saying. Look, we here on Domain Sherpa, right? Our objective is grow the pie. That's our motto, right? And so we are out here trying to educate people, trying to get people excited, trying to make it look fun, trying to just let people know what this opportunity is, how to maybe think about it, and how to get into it. But the reality is let's just say that we're really successful in that mission, and every month there's 100 people that enter the domain space and say, I'm going to take my roll of the dice. The success rate is going to be like 1% because they're going to go buy a bunch of garbage. They're going to sit on that garbage for some period of time. None of it or very little of it will sell. And so they go, oh, this was a fraud. This was a scam. This doesn't work. This is, blah, blah, blah. There's no, this was a business for somebody that got into it in the 90s. All the stuff that we hear. And so what there needs to be, because I fundamentally believe that we are still in the early innings. I fundamentally believe that the transition from physical commercial real estate to digital commercial real estate is now under full swing, and that we are literally in that flux period, which is probably a 3 to 4 year period. And coming out the other side of it is when we really start to see true appreciation, true value of these domains being appreciated. And in order to get through to that other side, we need to present opportunities to new entrants. And so the only new entrants we've had over the last 2 decades was huge private equity investors that understood the opportunity, came in and consolidated portfolios, whether that was through GoDaddy or through other private deals or what have you. That was the only way to play the game, was huge capital, private equity coming in and consolidating portfolios because they wanted to front run and they understood the opportunity. Great. Hats off. But for the average Joe to come in and say, I want to participate in this game, you got to go play, you got to go play the bingo card. And that's not a great way to get started today. But if you can come in and say, oh, I'm going to buy a share of hotspot.com at whatever the valuation is right now, it's way too low in my personal opinion, even though I am clearly biased and own a large portion of hotspot.com and continuously buy shares on the open market on a regular basis because I fundamentally believe that the valuation is much higher than what it's trading for. And
you must
I'm not
step in as your attorney
anybody
and say, this is not security advice.
Thank you.
Please,
Yes, I was actually waiting
whatsoever.
I was waiting for him to take a breath so that I could actually jump in and say that and say, hey, to be very clear to the audience out here, none of this is financial advice. He's just sharing with you some of his opinions in his own journey. But obviously, he's not telling you to go out and buy shares of Hotspot. But do your own research.
All that is true, but I don't think that I'm overstepping here in any way. I'm literally saying, in my opinion, this is a domain that I own that is available in the open market.
But also just throwing it out there, not financial advice.
I'm just trying to highlight the discrepancy between I'm going to go buy XYZ dog, blah, 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 whatever. Okay.
Well, I think because real quick, right? And because a couple of things, people that are going to come into the space and they've got a limited amount of money that they want to be able to invest in domain names, right? And it's like, that sounds great. I'm in. This sounds cool. You guys seem to be having a lot of fun. I'm on the internet all the time. I get it. Cool. I'm going to go buy some names. And then it's like, now I got to go sell those names. Right. And this goes back to exactly what literally we opened the show with Page talking about the tail. Braden talks about this on shows. You guys all discuss, people who've been in the space for a long time. It's like, it's 5 years to sell a domain name. You know what I mean? You're not going to flip unless you're looking to do a quick flip, but to be able to sustainably invest in domains, you need to be able to do this over a period of time where you can build an inventory, sell for the kind of prices to justify the amount of money that you're investing, not just when you buy the names, but when you renew the domains and everything else. So it's like, that's tough. That's why a lot of people who come in, spend some money, get some names, they're shit names. Think about the Clubhouse people who all came in and bought a bunch of garbage were convinced to go buy a bunch of .club domains and then lost all their money. And then, and as we were trying to explain to them how this thing actually works, we were told, oh, y'all are hating on our vibe. You're just hating us because we're out here making things happen, and all that other bullshit. But it's like, no, look, to become an actual successful domain investor, right? It's a long tail. You've got to be willing to wait. You've got to be patient. You've got to be smart. You've got to be analytical. But we can, by introducing the idea of fractional ownership around really good quality digital assets, well, now you're taking out all the a lot of the pain points, the struggle. You let people dive in and immediately participate in some of the best digital assets that are out there, and it's like we think there's real opportunity there. That's why we're doing this. So anyway, but yeah, man. But obviously, I couldn't agree more.
So, Paige, I wanted to drill down on one more thing you said. Hold on, I just lost my train of thought.
Drew's like, I wasn't talking, therefore I forgot what
Domainer Expo, see in Vegas.
So on the Web3 front, okay. So I've had my own personal roller coaster with this. I invested into .eth domains back in 2015 when they first launched, 14 to 15, whenever that was that they first launched. I was probably one of the first 50 people to ever own one. I bought like 1,000 of them right out of the gate. And I was thinking about it as like, oh, this is a hedge to, the current internet, this decentralized internet, which I'm a huge proponent of decentralization, generally speaking. And so I thought, oh, wow, great. Not only is this, really potentially cool for humanity, but potentially a great opportunity as we maybe transition from this legacy internet to this decentralized internet. Okay. That was phase one. Phase two, Unstoppable Domains launches. I read an article about it. I reach out. I'm like, yo, I want to invest in your company. I know a thing or two about the Web 2 domains. I might be able to, help you guys think about Web 3. And so I invested into them. I was an advisor. Then, Handshake launches, and I invested into a ton of I don't even know, hundreds or thousands maybe of the Handshake TLDs. And, all that was, fine and dandy. And I've, sort of ridden that wave. And as that evolved, I did a lot of my own thinking around the subject and thinking about, extrapolating this out a decade. And what does that mean? And are these ever going to be able to resolve? And, side note, no, I don't believe they will ever resolve on any mainstream browser ever. For a whole variety of reasons. And I'm quite confident in that assessment. And so where does that leave you? And it's like, okay, well, there's still value potentially there because you have, wallet names. I mean, anybody that has played around with crypto, like these wallet names are just like IP addresses. Nobody's going to remember it. And so you need a human readable address for your wallet. And that has value. There's the potential for sort of an identity type of product. Similar to like what an NFT is that is representative of these Web3 domains. And there's value there. But there's this strange thing that I can't get over, which is, there's nothing stopping anybody. You just name it yourself. I just named 3 companies that I invested in. There's 3 more that you're, participating in various ways. There's an endless number of possibilities of companies to launch these things. There's nothing preventing all of them from launching the same strings. People are going to shout, that's not fair, and da-da-da-da, and we've got some of that going on. But at the end of the day, it is perfectly fair. It doesn't matter. Just because you were first means nothing. The United States Patent and Trademark Office isn't willing to give anybody a trademark on these TLDs. And so it's a Wild West and will continue to be a Wild West. And from my perspective, I just don't know how that resolves itself without a centralized body that says, I don't know. There needs to be either an economical mechanism or a centralized mechanism that arbitrates this. And so my conclusion that I've arrived at is that for the time being, these have very little to no value, but only because of the inability to arbitrate who gets to launch what TLD. And now you've got some interesting stuff. Unstoppable is now launching which again, I am an investor of, but they're launching this, Web3 / Web 2 registrar type of product, right? And you've got D3, D3, which I also just invested in. They're launching a sort of registry product with some other things that are going to happen in there. Exciting stuff. You got who are the guys at 3DNS or 3? Andrew Alleman just interviewed them. 3 something. 3.
Yeah, and we just launched Web United.
3DN.
which will take a whole TLD and put it on Web3. And the same person who owns the Web2 can buy the Web3 at their registrar. That's Web United.
Okay. So all of these things,
and it's 3 DNS,
super interesting. Yeah, 3 DNS. So there is a convergence happening. My interpretation of it is that the Web3 people are realizing there's no there there, and they're basically saying, okay, how do we use these tools and these innovative products that we've created for the Web3 space and apply that to the Web2 domains? Because the Web2 domains, in my opinion, are really the only, let's say, true asset class. The other, everything else is sort of a utility or a feature. And so I like the idea of pairing the Web2 and the Web3. I don't like Web3 on its own, but that is that. Yeah. So that was sort of the summary of the roller coaster that I've been on, which was lots of ups and then eventually this moment of seeming clarity. Where am I? What am I missing? What how do you see it?
You have accurately surmised the exact current state looking backward of what's happened. And if you're looking at Web3 for liquidity, quality, top of the food chain, it's not that. Yeah. So yes, you're right. And that's why I said at NamesCon. But for me, take the top 1 million domains, put them on the side, the ones you deal with, okay? That's its own market. That has value, okay? In Web3, it's not going to be ruled by edict that ICANN is going to give out TLDs, and then those companies that learn that process get the TLD, and then they build their business. I'm okay with the market-based system that says I own .v. And if someone else comes out with .v, I've got to be the best .v out there. And I'm counting on Freename and their technology partners and their 26 employees, and they raised money last year in a down market to be able to give me the tools to build my .v. It's my .v. But I'm not talking about owning a domain name anymore. I'm talking about owning a TLD. And if I can build community and if I can build value for my registrants, I get this decentralized network of people coming together in a TLD to each own their own website. And I don't have to wait 3 years and pay ICANN $500,000 and offer through every registrar. So there's kind of a rebellion. There's kind of a you're not the boss of me. But in this quiet time, when you don't have the liquidity of each airdrop, you don't have the liquidity of unstoppable spending tens of millions, on marketing, it's kind of like what's being built now. And the reason I look at Web3 a little differently is I've always wanted to own my own TLD. I tried through ICANN. I tried for .kids, paid them $50,000, didn't get it. I don't want to wait 3 years. I want to be in business tomorrow with .v. You know what I mean? So you tell me it doesn't resolve on the internet, I say fine. Because any new TLD that comes out has to build its own market anyway. Or else, how's the registrar going to market 3,000 TLDs? So here's what I'll finish with. As long as I have to build my own demand, I can build demand to download the plugin. People aren't afraid to download little apps and plugins and extensions anymore. And the fact that we're on 3 browsers now, we'll be on more later, I'm looking in the future and saying this is a reasonable speculation for me to own my own TLD. And that's why I'm doing it.
So I believe in everything you just said. That was the reason I got excited about Web3 in the first place, Web3 domains. All of the same reasons. The idea of owning my own TLD was like, I was jumping out of bed in the morning like, yo, I need to go get more of these things, get more of these things. Here's there's a couple of conundrums that were dead ends for me. And here's one that applies to what you just said, that there are others, but I'm going to focus on this one. Let's use the wallet identification utility. Okay. So let's use your .v, and I've got, let's say it's drew.v. Okay. And I'm like, hey, Page, send me some crypto, whether that's ETH or Solana, whatever it might be, and send it to drew.v. Okay, great. Now, Josh owns .v on, let's say my .v is on Freename. I got drew.v and it's on the Freename, network. Josh has got .v on the Handshake network. And JT is going to send some money. He's going to send one ETH, one whatever, any unit. Okay. How does my wallet know which .v to send it to? And then even more important, because that's a marketing deal, basically, right? That's business development. That's like, oh, okay, so Free Name took some of that money. They went out, they got, let's call it MetaMask. And they said, okay, MetaMask, when somebody sends money to a .v handle, a .v domain name, you're going to send it through the Free Name network and not the HNS network, okay? And that's all well and good. But the average Joe user doesn't have a freaking clue about what's going on behind the scenes and where this money is going to be routed by the wallet, okay? You got to have at least some delimited degree of technical knowledge to know that, you know, I can change seemingly how this money gets routed, this crypto gets routed through my wallet. I can change the network. You can do that right now on MetaMask. I can be utilizing the Ethereum network, or there's other test networks that I can use. There's other, you know, hard nets that I can use. And all of that changes where that data, that packet, that money arrives. And so how do you solve that problem? How do you solve the, hey, JT, send me one ETH for, you know, dinner last night. Send it to Drew.v. And JT said, oh, okay. And then I don't know what wallet he uses. I don't know which, you know, network his wallet routes through. So is Josh going to get that money, or am I going to get that money? You know, we don't know till it's too late. And so
Drew,
that's one of the conundrums.
You have that in crypto. I could be sending you money on Polygon, Ethereum, Binance. And I guess what I'm saying is you're concerned about the public, and I totally understand. But don't have a wallet if you don't know how to use it. And most people don't. And I would never send crypto to a domain name. I think it's the illusion that that's a use case for these domain names that was important. I don't think anyone is actually doing it. Because if I'm going to send money,
I disagree. I think that
it's way possible. Seriously, Drew. Seriously.
In my opinion, it is the single greatest use case of Web3 domain names.
And I understand. And that's because you're looking at it now, and you're looking at current, and you're trying to hold on to something that's for certain. You know what I mean? And that's all there is. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't buy a Web3 domain name just for that single use. I just wouldn't. But if you think about the future, there's a subset of people that own wallets. There's a subset of people that this is for. And it's not going to come out of the blocks, just like the domain name system didn't come out of the blocks in 1992 with the responsibility to work in every case for every person out there, no matter what they thought. I totally understand what you're saying. There will be conflict. There will be collision. It'll be managed. The bad companies will go away. The better companies will stay. It'll be like most other businesses. It won't be the edict of being given a monopoly by ICANN. And that might be your cup of tea, or it might not. But most of the people that are investing in it, it doesn't have a lot in common with Web 2. It just doesn't. It's different. And the Web 3 world isn't going to come back in and care what me as a 60-year-old white guy thinks. You know what I mean? They're going to go ahead and they're going to go straight to what they're doing. And I guess that's what I had to tell people at ICANN is you can't jump up and say, I don't understand, so it better stop. It's going to keep going. So that's the only encouragement I'd give you is it's going to keep going. It may not be your thing. You know, the ones you've been in have had their time. They've had their ups. They've had their downs. We'll see what happens in the next couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look, I think very good points on both sides. I think Drew's a little bit more bearish. I think for Page, I think kind of what I said earlier when, you know, Drew insulted me, if you guys remember when that happened early at the beginning of the show, which feels like 3 hours ago. No, I'm kidding. But I think it's the unknown, right? You're investing in the idea that, look, you've got smart people, you've got interesting tech, you've got, you know, maybe, you know, the use cases are not completely mapped out or exactly how it's going to go. You know, it's speculative, right? But there is, you know, there's definitely activity, there's money, and there's, you know, and it is into the future. We'll see how it shakes out.
Well, I hate that we haven't included Josh in this, but I'm listening, guys. My
you're like the jury, but
well, Exactly. He's the guy we got to convince. That's exactly what it is.
Turn. He's about to do like The Voice, where he's going to spin around and be like, "All right, I've listened to both sides, and my decision is as follows."
I'm just as ingrained in the Web3 stuff as you guys are, as you know, and my concern is it's not about the everyday entrepreneur. It's not about the guys that make our living on the internet. It's about the guys that if I step out of my house and walk down the street and talk to them, what are they capable of doing? And I'm very skeptical about their ability to do anything, to be quite
Hey, as we say on the show all the time, you think about how dumb the average person is, and
but
half the people are dumber than that.
Where we can at least hopefully agree is there was liquidity and there was direction at different times in all three of those platforms you just mentioned. And we don't have that in domains, okay? ICANN has no idea why people own domains. The registrars have no idea who their customers are, okay?
Yeah.
And you had stuff come along that offered these three benefits: community, identity, and liquidity and direction, okay? And we got a glimpse of what could happen if we ever got domains, Drew, to where you and I both think they should be. And that's why I love the new Sherpa, the idea that we're going to work on growing the pie. What's that phrase? If a flower dies in the garden or something, you don't fix the flower. You fix the environment.
Fix the surroundings.
You fix the surroundings.
Yes.
And I think that's the type of thing you're trying to go for. So
because one thing that I massively agree with on what you're talking about, Paige, and I always have, is that the liquidity around domains should be far greater than what it is. Having seen what we saw and we continue to see around ENS and NFTs, and that just the influx of curious investors. Let's just call them curious investors or degens, whatever you want to call them. Our industry is perfect for those type of people, but they struggle to get in for one reason or another. And I think that it is up to the people in our industry to give them the opportunity to get in. And I've tried here and there, but the problem is do I really want them? I don't really care. I could just sit here and do nothing and continue to make money. It would be nice, but I'm not going to go out of my way. Is basically the way,
I mean, that's show on the show here.
Unless I'm having a shit ton of fun doing it, which is also possible. But I don't see the clear path. I know there is one, but I don't see it. And if I did and I could have fun doing it, I'm sure that there is a great opportunity to bring a lot more people into this space, which goes back to what you're both saying, and that's essentially growing the pie.
Yeah, and this goes back to the point you made about NFTs, Web3 domains. What was super exciting and awesome about the big Web3 wave was just how, accessible, easy, liquid. Some of the tech was clunky, MetaMask, wallets, all this kind of stuff, like, the scams and all the different bullshit that you got to be careful about with your wallets and all that stuff. But, but just the ability to simply list, buy, and own and control immediately, right? And that's always been a big problem with domains is like, we've got, you've got delays and waiting periods and things, and you change your account information. That domain is now locked for 60 days.
Yeah, and, in my opinion, where this, in a perfect world, where this all ends up, is ICANN gets its shit together, understands that, which is pigs are going to fly before this happens, but like they would understand that the EPP system is inadequate, antiquated. And that there's an architecture, there's a technological architecture from the Web3 space that can and should, if ICANN was actually there for the benefit of internet owners and users,
a lot of ifs.
They
would implement that architecture.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be decentralized. It just needs to be like a dynamic ledger type technology.
Well, technically, I can't actually. Again, with the nuance, but like, technically, ICANN is somewhat centralized. In fact, I would argue that, the the legacy DNS with 11 core servers and distributed all over the world, is probably the second most decentralized network on planet Earth. And so
BTC.
Yeah, I would say it's far more decentralized than Ethereum is, for example, and more secure. So, it's not. Web 2 domains are the network. I know because it's slow and it's boring, and it's the architecture is inadequate. It is poo-pooed by the crypto enthusiasts, of which I am one. But Bitcoin enthusiast. But
Bitcoin maximalist.
And Drew,
history has not been written. The future has not been written. There is a world in which that architecture gets applied to the Web 2 domain space, and we are often running with some really powerful assets that have a whole new functionality.
I don't mind that there's a public root with accountability. It's a hybrid root. The auth code acts like a blockchain, but if you get screwed, you can call your registrar. That's why I call it a hybrid root. Yeah. No Web3 company is launching on a Web3 domain name. They're launching on a Web2 domain name because the public root is slow moving, fair for everybody. And I like that ICANN has shepherded for the past 25 years. I have 20,000 domains on that route. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But so I like it that it's slow moving. It does all those things. But at the same point, now that the world of domains has grown above it, they shouldn't be able to maybe dictate, let innovation happen other places like what you're talking about. So I'm glad that there's a public route. I am. I'm a public route maximalist. But to put a little bit in Web3, I had to understand as much as I could about it. So it's been interesting, and it's made me a better domain investor in Web2.
Yeah, I love that. All right, and I think that's a great point and a great time for us to stop. We're running way up on time, but I think this was fantastic. We talked a lot of big brain stuff. This was awesome, Paige. Thank you so much. Looking forward to the next time that you're on.
Great to see you, Josh, Drew.
This long.
Thank you for coming back on. Great to have you back. And
this was great.
This was a phenomenal show.
Yeah. Well, and I think
we'll see what the audience says. Let us know. Comment.
Well, if anybody in the audience, is unhappy with this show, please let me know, and we will get you a refund of what you paid immediately. So just let us know. We will handle that ASAP. But just to close it out, I think it's fantastic talking about all the different pieces. And to your point, the fact that you've got the Web3 companies still utilizing the Web2 domains. Key point, but the future is going to be interesting for sure. So, all right. Well, good stuff. Thank you so much, Paige, Josh, Drew, as always, you guys, awesome. And to the audience, like we say on every show, thank you for tuning in. Without you, there is no us. We appreciate y'all. And, hit us back with some feedback. We're not hard to find, and, we'll do what we do. And, otherwise,
if you're watching this on YouTube, hit like, smash up that like button, share with your friends, grow the pie with us.
Yeah,
and hit subscribe.
Hit subscribe. Let's go. Smash that subscribe button. And but thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next time here on Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Peace out, y'all.